There comes a point in life when you realize something. The smartest people don't always win. The most educated don't always rise. The ones with the highest IQ or degrees are not the ones who live with peace, clarity, or emotional stability. You might have seen this in your own life, moments when your mind knows exactly what to do, but your emotions get in the way. You know you shouldn't overreact, and yet you do. You know you shouldn't procrastinate, and yet the fear of failure slows you down. You want to stay focused, but distractions take over. You want to be calm, but stress hijacks your day. You want meaningful relationships, yet misunderstandings, ego, or impulsive reactions damage them. And deep inside, you ask yourself, why does this keep happening? Why do emotions overpower logic, even when you know better? This is the struggle Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence helps you solve. It shows you why your feelings behave like a silent operating system inside your mind, directing your actions, shaping your decisions, and influencing your destiny. And most importantly, it teaches you how to take back control. Welcome to Top Summary, where you learn from successful people, transform your life, and see your growth unfold. If you're new here, we bring you inspiring book summaries and practical lessons to help you grow faster and live better. Emotional intelligence is not just a concept. It is a skill, a practice, a way of living. Daniel Goleman explains that human beings have two minds: the rational mind that learns, thinks, and plans, and the emotional mind that reacts, feels, and remembers. Both are important, but the emotional mind is older, faster, and more powerful. When it takes over, even intelligent people make poor decisions. When it works with the rational mind, people become unstoppable, calm under pressure, thoughtful, confident, adaptable, and deeply connected with others. This book matters because the world today is emotionally overwhelming. We are bombarded by notifications, deadlines, social comparisons, financial pressure, relationship stress, and constant uncertainty. In a noisy world, emotional intelligence becomes the real superpower, more valuable than IQ, more powerful than talent, and more practical than motivation. EQ determines how well you lead, how well you love, and how well you live. Goleman breaks emotional intelligence into 5 pillars, and each one has the power to change your life. The first is self-awareness, the ability to understand your emotions as they happen. Most people don't know what they feel or why they feel it. Days go by in emotional autopilot. But the moment you begin recognizing your inner patterns, everything changes. You begin to see the difference between real problems and emotional noise. You begin to identify triggers. You begin to understand your moods. And slowly, you stop being reactive and start being intentional. Think about a simple example. You wake up feeling anxious. Instead of rushing into the day, you pause and ask, what exactly am I feeling right now? That small acknowledgement creates a gap, a moment of clarity. The emotion no longer controls you. You begin to control it. Self-awareness grows through honesty. It grows through reflection. It grows by noticing what your mind does automatically: the judgments, the fears, the assumptions. Goleman emphasizes that people who build self-awareness can handle criticism better, navigate conflicts better, and make clearer decisions. They don't get lost in emotional storms because they see the storm forming long before it hits. The next pillar is self-regulation, the ability to manage your emotions instead of letting them explode or collapse inside you. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means guiding them, like redirecting fire instead of letting it burn everything. Self-regulation is the ability to pause before reacting. It's the power to choose a better response. When someone criticizes you, instead of firing back, you breathe. When you feel anger rising, instead of shouting, you stay steady. When anxiety hits, instead of shutting down, You focus on what you can control. Goleman explains that emotionally intelligent people feel everything: anger, fear, worry, joy, excitement. But they are not ruled by any of it. They channel emotions instead of being carried away by them. This inner stability is what makes leaders trustworthy and individuals dependable. Imagine you're in a heated argument. Your emotional brain urges you to say something hurtful, but your rational mind knows it will create long-term damage. Emotional intelligence is the bridge between the two, the space where you make a wise choice. Over time, this ability becomes a habit. You begin catching yourself faster. You begin choosing peace over reaction. You begin choosing clarity over impulse. This is the emotional discipline that turns mistakes into lessons and chaos into growth. Goleman also dives into motivation, not the external kind that fades, but the internal drive that keeps people moving even when no one is watching. Emotionally intelligent people are motivated by purpose, not pressure. They work with passion, not compulsion. They stay resilient because their drive comes from within, not from rewards or validation. Think about someone who wakes up early not because they have to, but because they want to grow. Someone who keeps learning because they love improving. Someone who faces setbacks but keeps moving because they believe in the journey. This type of motivation is emotional energy. It fuels success far more than discipline alone. Goleman explains that people with high emotional intelligence stay committed longer, handle failures better, and keep a positive mindset even during difficulties. Their emotional system supports their goals instead of sabotaging them. Then comes empathy, the heart of human connection. Empathy is not just understanding others. It is feeling with them. It is noticing the emotions behind their words, their tone, their silence. It's being present. When you understand someone's emotional world, you build trust. You communicate better. You resolve conflicts faster. You connect deeper. Goleman says empathy is what makes relationships healthy and teams strong. Leaders who lack empathy create fear. Parents who lack empathy create distance. Partners who lack empathy create misunderstandings. Empathy is the ability to say, I see you. I hear you. Your feelings matter. Imagine talking to someone who listens without interrupting, who understands your pain without judging, who supports you without giving cliches. That presence changes everything. Empathy makes conversations healing instead of draining. And finally, the last pillar, social skills. This is where emotional intelligence becomes visible to others. It's the ability to communicate clearly, manage relationships, influence positively, inspire others, and handle difficult people with calmness. People with strong social skills don't avoid conflict, they navigate it. They don't dominate conversations, they guide them. They don't manipulate, they collaborate. Goleman explains that emotional intelligence is not a talent. It is a learnable skill, one you can build step by step, moment by moment. And as you understand yourself better, regulate better, empathize better, and communicate better, your life begins to shift. Stress becomes easier to manage. Relationships become smoother. Decisions become clearer. And you begin feeling more like the person you're meant to be. There is a moment in everyone's life when emotions take over so quickly that logic disappears. You might have experienced this during an argument, when anger rises and you say something you regret. Or when fear stops you from taking a step you know is good for you. Or when stress builds up and your mind keeps running in circles without clarity. Daniel Goleman calls this an emotional hijack. A moment when the emotional brain reacts before the rational brain even wakes up. It's fast, automatic, and overwhelming. To understand why this happens, Goleman explains the science behind your brain. Deep inside is the amygdala, the emotional alarm system. It has one job: protect you. If it senses threat, physical or emotional, it reacts instantly. This was useful in ancient times when survival depended on speed. But in the modern world, threats look different. A harsh message can trigger the same emotional alarm as a physical attack. A small failure can feel like danger. A difficult conversation can activate fear. When the amygdala takes over, your body floods with emotion, your heartbeat rises, your focus narrows, and you lose access to your calm reasoning. What's important is this: the emotional brain reacts faster than the thinking brain. That's why you feel first and think later. Goleman explains that emotional intelligence is not about eliminating emotions. It's about learning to recognize the moment the emotional brain steps in, so you can take your power back. Imagine catching yourself just as you're about to lose your temper. You pause, breathe deeply, and let a few seconds pass. Those few seconds are enough time for your rational brain to return. This tiny window is what emotional intelligence develops, the space between trigger and response. Over time, this space becomes bigger. Clarity replaces impulse. Reflection replaces reaction. Goleman emphasizes that understanding your emotional patterns is the key to changing them. If you know that certain situations, like criticism, deadlines, or conflict, trigger you, you can prepare for them. You can enter those moments with awareness instead of tension. You can enter with calmness instead of defensiveness. This turns emotional hijacks into emotional mastery. Along with understanding emotional reactions, Goleman explains how moods shape your life far more than you notice. Moods are like internal weather. When the weather is clear, everything feels manageable. When the weather turns cloudy, even simple tasks feel heavy. Many people live without noticing how strongly their mood influences their decisions. A bad mood can make you overthink, withdraw, or avoid challenges. A positive mood can make you creative, optimistic, and socially open. What Goleman teaches is that you can influence your mood instead of letting it dictate your day. A small change in your environment, a short break, a few minutes of breathing, or a simple act of gratitude can shift your internal weather. Emotional intelligence is not the absence of storms, it's knowing how to navigate them. As we go deeper into the book, Goleman explains how emotions affect learning, memory, and focus. You cannot learn or think clearly when your mind is overwhelmed. Stress blocks your ability to concentrate. Anxiety narrows your attention. Anger disrupts your ability to listen. This is why students, professionals, and leaders all benefit from emotional balance. When your mind is calm, your abilities rise. When your emotions are steady, your performance improves. Emotional stability becomes a foundation for excellence. One of the most powerful insights in the book is that emotional patterns are learned early in life. Children who grow up around calm, emotionally intelligent adults learn emotional skills quickly. Children raised around anger, chaos, or silence often struggle with expressing or understanding emotions. But the hopeful message is this: emotional intelligence can be learned at any age. The brain is adaptable. New habits can form. Old reactions can be replaced. If you choose to practice emotional awareness and regulation, you can reshape your emotional life no matter your past. Goleman explains that emotionally intelligent people use three practices often. They reflect, they pause, and they choose. They reflect on their feelings without judging themselves. They pause before reacting, giving their rational mind a chance to return. And they choose their response based on values, not impulses. Imagine waking up feeling low. Instead of pushing the feeling away or letting it control you, you acknowledge it. You ask yourself what it means. You take a few minutes to breathe, maybe take a short walk or write your thoughts. This simple act of noticing creates emotional clarity. The feeling begins to lose its power over you. Or imagine facing a stressful task. Instead of telling yourself, "I can't handle this," you shift your emotional tone by saying, "I can take it step by step." This shift in emotional language changes your internal state. You regain control. You reduce anxiety. You begin to act. Midway through the book, Goleman dives deeper into empathy. He explains that empathy is not just emotional kindness, it is emotional wisdom. It is tuning into another person's inner world. When you sense someone's frustration, confusion, or hurt without them expressing it directly, you build a bridge between hearts. You make communication easier. You reduce conflict. You make relationships stronger. But empathy also requires boundaries. If you absorb everyone's emotions, you become overwhelmed. Goleman emphasizes that healthy empathy balances understanding with clarity. You feel with others, but you don't drown in their feelings. This kind of empathy makes you a stronger partner, parent, friend, and leader. As social beings, humans respond deeply to emotional signals. A calm voice can soothe. A harsh tone can wound. A warm gesture can heal. Without saying a single word, your emotional state influences everyone around you. This is why emotional intelligence becomes essential in leadership. People don't respond only to instructions. They respond to emotional energy. Leaders who are emotionally intelligent inspire confidence because their presence is steady, their words are thoughtful, and their reactions are measured. If you enjoy our top summaries and storytelling, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this with someone who might need it today. We've got some bonus action items for you at the end, so keep listening. Now, let's get back to the summary. As Goleman continues, he explains how emotions play a role in decision-making. Many people believe they make decisions logically, but neuroscience shows that emotion is always involved. Every decision has an emotional weight. Without emotional awareness, you might choose things that relieve discomfort in the moment but harm you in the long term. You might avoid opportunities because fear disguises itself as logic. You might stay in unhealthy situations because your emotions prefer familiarity over growth. Emotional intelligence helps you distinguish between emotional impulses and true intuition. True intuition is calm, grounded, and clear. Emotional impulse is fast, urgent, and reactive. When you learn the difference, your decisions become wiser. You move with intention instead of avoidance. You think long-term instead of chasing short-term comfort. Goleman also shows how emotional habits form through repetition. The more you react with anger, the more automatic anger becomes. The more you react with avoidance, the stronger avoidance becomes. Emotional patterns become pathways in the brain. But when you consciously practice new responses, like patience, calmness, or thoughtful communication, you build new pathways. Slowly, the new habit becomes the easier path. This is how emotional growth happens, through small, consistent changes. One of the book's most powerful teachings is that emotional intelligence improves relationships more effectively than communication techniques alone. Communication skills are useful, but without emotional awareness, they feel mechanical. Emotional intelligence brings presence, sensitivity, and understanding to relationships. It helps you listen deeply, speak clearly, and handle conflict with grace. Imagine having a difficult conversation. Without emotional intelligence, you might interrupt, defend yourself quickly, or misinterpret the other person. With emotional intelligence, you listen without preparing your reply. You focus on understanding their feelings. You acknowledge their perspective. You express your thoughts without attacking. This transforms the conversation. It reduces defensiveness. It creates emotional safety. People open up when they feel understood. As Goleman explains, emotions are contagious. Your emotional state spreads to others. If you're calm, others calm down. If you're anxious, others tense up. Emotional intelligence allows you to choose the emotional tone you bring into rooms, conversations, and relationships. In the next section, We'll explore how emotional intelligence shapes leadership, work performance, resilience, and long-term success. We'll also go deeper into how you can build emotional intelligence through simple daily practices that shift your inner world and elevate your outer life. As the book moves deeper into the world of emotional intelligence, Daniel Goleman begins to show how these abilities shape not just personal life, but professional success as well. In today's world, technical skills alone are no longer enough. IQ can get you a job, but EQ determines how far you rise. In workplaces across industries, the people who grow fastest are not necessarily the smartest, but the ones who understand emotions, their own and others. They build trust. They handle pressure. They communicate clearly. They calm conflicts instead of creating them. This emotional stability becomes a competitive advantage. Goleman explains that emotionally intelligent individuals navigate workplace challenges with clarity. When colleagues disagree, they don't react impulsively. When deadlines become stressful, they remain steady. When feedback comes, they absorb it without defensiveness. This emotional maturity makes teams stronger and leaders more effective. And the surprising truth is that emotional intelligence contributes more to long-term success than technical expertise. Skills matter, but emotional balance determines how consistently you can use those skills. Consider the difference between two people with the same talent. One becomes overwhelmed under pressure, lashes out during conflict, or shuts down when criticized. The other stays composed, communicates thoughtfully, and adapts during uncertainty. Over time, the second person becomes trusted, respected, and promoted. This is how emotional intelligence quietly shapes careers. Goleman also reveals that emotional intelligence improves decision-making. Leaders often face choices that affect many people, and emotional clarity helps them think beyond fear, ego, or impulse. A leader with high EQ can sense team morale, recognize hidden tensions, and understand what people need to perform their best. Their presence becomes a stabilizing force. People feel safe around them because they respond with patience, not panic, with curiosity, not judgment, with intention, not impulse. But emotional intelligence is not just for leaders. It's for anyone who wants a calmer, more fulfilling life. The more you understand your own emotions, the more you understand why people behave the way they do. You stop seeing others as obstacles or problems. You start recognizing the emotional stories beneath their actions. Someone's anger may hide fear. Someone's silence may hide overwhelm. Someone's irritation may hide exhaustion. Emotional intelligence allows you to navigate these hidden layers with compassion and strength. As the book moves toward its final insights, Goleman introduces the idea of resilience, the ability to rise again after setbacks. Emotional intelligence strengthens resilience because emotionally aware people don't drown in their feelings. They notice when they're overwhelmed. They ask for support when needed. They take breaks before burnout appears. They process their emotions instead of suppressing them. This inner awareness helps them bounce back faster and with more clarity. Think of someone going through a major challenge like rejection, failure, or loss. Without emotional intelligence, the mind can spiral into self-doubt, anger, or despair. But with emotional intelligence, you allow yourself to feel, but you don't let the feeling consume your identity. You separate the event from your worth. You recognize that setbacks are temporary and emotions are signals, not verdicts. At this point in the book, Goleman also touches on the importance of emotional repair, the ability to fix emotional damage after misunderstandings or conflict. Many relationships fail not because of one mistake, but because people don't know how to emotionally reconnect afterward. Emotional intelligence gives you the humility to apologize, the courage to express your feelings, and the sensitivity to listen to someone else's pain. Repair builds trust. It strengthens bonds. It prevents emotional distance from growing into emotional walls. The more emotionally intelligent you become, the more peaceful your life feels. You stop reacting to everything. You become selective about what deserves your emotional energy. You treat yourself with kindness during hard times. You treat others with empathy, even when they struggle. You build a life where calmness becomes your strength and clarity becomes your default. As we move toward the closing moments of the book, Goleman reinforces one of his most important messages. Emotional intelligence can be learned. You are not born with a fixed level of EQ. Your ability to manage emotions, communicate, empathize, and navigate relationships can grow at any time through awareness, practice, and intention. You grow by observing your emotions instead of suppressing them. You grow by pausing before reacting. You grow by understanding people more deeply. You grow by choosing compassion over ego. You grow every time you choose a better emotional response, even if it's just 1% better than before. Goleman encourages you to think of emotional intelligence like physical fitness. Small, consistent habits create long-term transformation. A few minutes of reflection, a few pauses before reacting, a few moments of empathy, a few conscious choices. Over time, they reshape your emotional life. And when your emotional life becomes stronger, everything else improves. Stress reduces. Clarity increases. Relationships deepen. Confidence rises. You begin to feel more grounded, more intentional, and more aligned with the person you want to be. As the book comes to a close, Goleman leaves you with a powerful truth. Emotional intelligence is the foundation of a meaningful life. It determines how you handle challenges, how you express love, how you manage stress, how you make decisions, and how you connect with the world. When your emotions and your mind work together, you don't just function, you flourish. If you think back to your own life, you can probably see moments where emotional reactions caused unnecessary pain, or moments where emotional clarity helped you move forward. This awareness is the beginning of emotional mastery. The more you understand your emotions, the more you understand yourself. And the more you understand yourself, the more power you have to change your life. Before we close this audiobook summary, here are some powerful, practical takeaways inspired by the teachings of emotional intelligence. Habits you can start applying today to bring more clarity, stability, and intention into your life. Start by noticing your emotions as they arise. Not judging them, not suppressing them, simply noticing. This awareness interrupts emotional autopilot and gives you room to choose your response. Practice the pause. When emotions rise, take a slow breath before reacting. This single moment of stillness is where emotional intelligence begins. Check your self-talk. Replace harsh internal criticism with supportive language. The way you speak to yourself shapes the way you respond to the world. Listen more deeply. When someone is talking, focus on understanding their feelings, not just their words. True listening builds trust and connection. Choose calmness over reaction. Even when anger pushes you to respond quickly, choose to slow down. Calmness is not weakness. It is emotional strength. Reflect at the end of your day. Ask yourself, what did I feel today? Why did I feel it? What could I handle differently next time? Reflection is emotional training. Build small habits that influence your mood. A short walk, deep breathing, journaling, meaningful conversations, gratitude. These tiny habits shift your emotional baseline. Allow yourself to feel. Emotional intelligence is not emotional suppression. It is emotional understanding. And above all, be gentle with yourself during the process. Emotional growth takes time. You will make mistakes. You will have emotional moments. That's part of being human. What matters is that you keep choosing awareness, reflection, and intention. As we come to the end, remember this. Emotional intelligence is a lifelong journey, not a destination. Every moment is an opportunity to grow, to learn, to listen, to heal, and to rise. When you master your emotions, you master your life. You communicate better. You love deeper. You lead with clarity. You stay grounded in storms. And you begin living with a sense of strength, peace, and purpose that becomes unshakable. That's all for today. We'll continue bringing you top book summaries that inspire change and reflection. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep transforming. Transform your thoughts. Transform your life.